As the New York Yankees head into winter meetings, there's three big names that we've been hearing for the past few weeks: Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Cody Bellinger, and Juan Soto. And all three of those guys obviously would make a huge impact with the roster next season. But the question is, how did the Yankees go about getting those guys? And if you could pick one, two, or all three, who would you pick? So I'm going to kind of go down the list of who's the best fit for the Yankees out of those three big names this offseason. The Yankees 2023 team, the biggest issue was the lineup, the offense. It was one of the worst in baseball. Guys didn't get on base, and obviously it's been a trend the past few years. The Yankees don't have enough left-handed hitters. And Juan Soto seems to be that perfect fit for Yankee Stadium, and obviously the Yankees need a left fielder. Even though he struggles defensively and he'd be a below-average defender, I think the Yankees would live with Soto's porous defense if he's going to hit the way he has, and he's only 25 years old. Now, the big question for me with the potential for the Yankees to trade for Soto is, are the San Diego Padres going to trade Juan Soto? And his arbitration would be around $33 million, so the Padres potentially want to shed his salary. But are the Yankees the right partner that the Padres want? Now, obviously, they are starved for pitching. They want guys in the rotation that are MLB ready, and the Yankees have some of those guys, whether it be a package with Clarke Schmidt, Michael King, maybe a Johnny Brito, a Randy Vasquez, or a prospect like Clayton Beeter. So the Yankees have guys that they can eventually trade with for the Padres. But the question is, are those arms who the Padres want? And there's going to be a lot of suitors for Soto with the Padres. So they can kind of have their pick of the litter of what package, return package, that they want the most. So my big question, obviously, the Yankees know the Yankees starting pitchers and the prospects, but are the Padres really interested in some of those guys? And it takes two to make a trade. It takes two to tango. Is the trade package that would go back to San Diego what the Padres want? I don't know. As a front office, AJ Preller, those guys, they're going to make the decision on what team's going to have the best package. Now, it's not going to be what the Nationals got back for Soto a couple years ago. Obviously, just 1 year of team control. But it's still kind of a question mark. Can the Yankees come together and really have a trade that's going to benefit the Padres that they're going to want to pull the trigger on? I don't know if they have the arms. Obviously, I think Michael King, especially in the rotation, what he showed the last month of the year, he could be a guy that to me is extremely attractive for any team. He's only got 2 years of team control left. Clarke Schmidt's another guy that showed some peaks and valleys last season, and I think he can be a quality starting pitcher at the major league level. He's got a few more years of team control than King, but is he a guy that the Padres want to kind of make the centerpiece of the package, or is it going to be just prospects? And that's another option if the Padres really want to fill their farm system. The Yankees do have some arms top to bottom in their farm system that could potentially trade for Soto, but obviously he's the biggest impact bat. And Juan Soto's the guy that instantly the Yankees put at the top of the lineup, right next to Aaron Judge, probably behind him in the 3 spot, that would change the lineup entirely, instantly. But can they get him to New York? That remains to be seen. Kind of continuing with the bats, obviously Cody Bellinger, with the connection with his dad, Clay Bellinger, grew up in the Yankee clubhouse. He seems like a good fit, and he's going to command a big contract, and do the Yankees want to go 7-8 years, over $200 million? He's the top hitter in the market this year, besides Shohei Ohtani, of course. And Bellinger could fit very well into New York. He's obviously a guy that can play center field at a pretty elite level. And then in a couple years, if the Yankees move on from Anthony Rizzo, Bellinger slides in at first base. So he makes a lot of sense. I don't expect him to ever hit .317 like he did for the Cubs last season. I know some of his advanced metrics as a hitter this past year, he had good luck as a hitter, and I know you can make the case for that being concerning, but also the Yankees didn't have any good luck as hitters last year. So Bellinger's a guy that gets on base, he can put the ball in play, he decreased his strikeout rate. He makes sense for a lot of reasons. He's obviously a little bit older than Soto, but potentially if you can envision a world where the Yankees have Soto and Bellinger and Aaron Judge at the top of the lineup, that's a pretty fierce lineup. I don't know if the Yankees will be able to pull off getting both of those guys, but they're very, very attractive. And I think Bellinger is a fit for the Yankees, but the question for me is how long of a deal he ends up wanting and how much he can get on the free agent market. He's a guy that can probably get 8 years from the team. I don't expect 10 years, but are the Yankees going to want to pay that price and have another long-term contract on the books, considering they already have Judge and Cole and Stanton and even DJ LeMahieu for these next few years and Carlos Rodon? So that's, to me, the biggest question mark for the Yankees. And then, of course, Yamamoto, after Brian Cashman watched him throw a no-hitter back in September, he seems like the guy in Brian Cashman's white whale that the Yankees want to go after. But the other thing is, are they really going to go after another big starting pitcher with already Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon on the books? I don't know. It would make a lot of sense. He seems like he's the right fit for New York. And the Yankees have proven that Japanese players can come over and do well. Hideki Matsui proved that. Obviously, Masahiro Tanaka had a great Yankee career. Then also you have the counter of that there's Hideki Aruba and Keiagawa that did not succeed as much in New York and were pretty much busts. So there's obviously a little bit of concern on how well a guy is going to translate across the pond. Now, I do think Yamamoto's stuff looks good. He looks the part, and I think he would have a pretty seamless transition. You look at some other guys like Kodai Senga came out last year and pitched great. So I think Yamamoto could come pretty seamlessly into the major league level and pitch pretty well. The one concern I do have with Yamamoto is he's at 5'10", he's a smaller frame, and I think we've seen, obviously, a guy like Sonny Gray was second in the Cy Young voting, so Pedro Martinez is another guy that pitched extremely well, a smaller frame, so that's not a big concern, especially with a lot of teams now with the biomechanics and watching the stress on a guy's arm, and they'll be able to check to see if his arm and wear and tear, if his body's going to be able to hold up for a 6, 7, 8 year, 10-year contract potentially. Now, I don't think Yamamoto is going to get 10 years, but I do really think he'll get 7 or 8 years, potentially even 9 years. Maybe a team will go that far because he's a guy that's 25 years old. And for him, this is going to be his big contract in his career. And I don't know if the Yankees are going to want to match that. If they really believe in him as a pitcher, then obviously they will stick with that. So with those 3 big names out there, can the Yankees get one of those guys? Can they get 2 of the guys? I don't expect them to get 3. There's also a chance, I know this sounds bad, there's a chance the Yankees strike out on all 3 of those guys and come up empty. And there's some other moves that the Yankees could make in the offseason with a pretty limited free agent market that could potentially strengthen the team, maybe from the bottom up to the top. But my question was, at the start of this video, who would you have? If you could pick 2, if you could pick 1, who would you pick? For me, I would pick Juan Soto. He's obviously one of the best players in the game, and you only have to worry about him for team control 1 year. He's going to hit free agency, and he's going to hit the open market. The Yankees aren't going to be able to extend Soto this offseason. But if there's a way the Yankees can trade for Juan Soto with the San Diego Padres, they have to pull the trigger. Even if they're giving a lot of prospects back in return, maybe some MLB-ready players like King or Schmidt, the Yankees have to pull the trigger on Soto. And then after that, obviously, if I'm getting to pick from either Yamamoto or Bellinger, it sounds weird, but I think I'm picking Bellinger because I think the Yankees could really, in an instant, change over their lineup if you add Bellinger and Soto to the team. I'm not saying that Yamamoto won't be a great MLB pitcher, and I think he will be. I think the starting rotation isn't as bad as it looked last year, especially if you consider the Yankees still obviously have Garrett Cole these next few years in his prime. I think Carlos Rodon will have a bounce back year. He's not a guy that's ever going to pitch 30 starts in a year, I don't think, but if the Yankees can get 25 good starts out of Rodon, that's a pretty solid 1-2 punch. That's what the Yankees were envisioning when they signed him. And then, of course, you've got Michael King and Nestor Cortez, and starting pitching is obviously something you can always make trades for in around the trade deadline. So I'm not as concerned about that. So if I was ranking who the Yankees should go after, Soto's the number 1 guy. And if there's any way to trade for him, he should be the top priority. After that, I would casually listen to what Cody Bellinger wants on the open market. he would be a big asset for the Yankees to have in center field, maybe left field, and then the first base in a few years. And then, of course, Yamamoto's still very enticing. I don't think the Yankees get all three. I don't even think the Yankees get two, but it would be nice for the Yankees to get one and then find a way to strengthen the roster. A big question is going to be, what's the payroll going to look like? Do the Yankees want to go over $294 million, $300 million? Hal Steinbrenner said he doesn't want to go over $300 million. You can build a championship team under $300 million, and teams these past few years have proven that. You can win a World Series, but the Yankees need to get a little bit better at how they spend their money. As always, I appreciate you watching. Let me know if you could pick 1, 2, or 3, who would you pick and who would you go after?